Well, hi, everybody. This is Dear Mama Sal, and welcome to our Friday lunchtime broadcast. Today, we're going to be talking about growing up. When we do the Friday lunchtime broadcast, we're inclined to take one step forward in whatever it is we're trying to achieve. And I thought a really great subject for today would be how to just grow up. And for those of you who are just joining us and haven't watched a broadcast before, let me explain how it works. The first little bit of the broadcast, I will be doing news, views, and updates on our extended family. We have a really great group of people, and we're like an extended family to one another. So I like to do a little bit of updating for people. Hi, Jody, and to give them just an idea of what's going on with various people. We will then get on to the main part of the broadcast. And so if you're watching on the replay, you're going to see from 00 to such and such a time to such and such a time, it's going to say news, views, and updates. And then from another time onwards, it's going to be the topic of the day. So that's just explaining how it all works. I wanted to, first of all, just explain to you that what we're going to be talking about today in some ways is dealing with our inner child. And that's why I wanted to call this growing up, because sometimes we need to let the little kid go and actually start remembering that we are adults and we're dealing with adults. And so I want to have a look at that from both ways, which hopefully will help some of the viewers this week. In terms of thoughts and prayers, it's been a difficult week for a couple of people. And I just wanted to say that it's really important for us to remember that people go through ups and downs, especially health-wise. Jodie's had another difficult week, and really, I'm just amazed at how her attitude stays with her even through such turmoil. Erin, I haven't had an update on, so I don't know, but if anybody has an update later, let me know. I spoke to Lizzie a couple of times this week. She's doing much better, and she's gone to the doctor and getting some tests done. And so I'm really happy to be able to report that I feel really a lot more confident that she's getting the help she needs. She's got some medical issues going on that she just never checked out, and she's doing that now, which I'm really pleased about for her sake. If you're new to the broadcast, I just also wanted to mention there's probably a bell down here. And if you click on that, it's going to tell you when we're doing a live broadcast. Excuse me. The other thing is, if you follow me on DearMamaSal on Facebook, that's where I put up any sort of things that I find during the week that I think will be of interest to the viewers. And also on Twitter. Both Facebook and Twitter is where I put up sort of warnings as well, my personal warnings of when I'm about to broadcast, just so that you know that. I'm learning one step at a time. I'm learning more about how I'm eating. And the other thing I wanted to just let you know is I am trying to keep below 50% carbs in a day, because I realized I had a pretty heavy carb intake going on, and it's no wonder. But I'm still putting on weight, and I really don't know why, but I am going to the doctor this week because I'm a big girl, and I will be discussing that. So the other thing was that I was, my achievement of the week, I guess, was this, and I have to thank Jodie for this. Now, you're wondering, why would I thank Jodie for pills? Because Jodie talked to me about moringa powder, and thank you for that, Jodie. And also, she talked to me about making your own capsules. And because of that, I actually bought a capsule making machine, which is, I got to show you here, but it makes 100 capsules at a time. Now, I want to tell you, this is not something to do if you don't have a lot of time in your life, because I think to make 100 capsules took me about somewhere between half an hour and 3/4 of an hour. But it definitely is a huge cost saving. And I just want to see, just hold on one second. I'm just going to see roughly how much um, 100 capsules would cost on the, just trying to see how many how many they have in this thing. I hate it when you've got to deal with ads first, right? I want to see if I can see how many capsules they got in there. Well, to give you some sort of idea, that the one thing I'm looking at for moringa capsules is like about $40. And so I paid probably paid about $100 for this, I think. And it makes, as you can see, it makes 100 capsules. So by the time I've done 2 batches, I will have paid, in fact, I've already paid when I think about it, because I've done 2 lots of capsules this week alone. The capsules are nothing. They don't hardly cost anything, but it's what you put in it. And so, and the powder, the moringa powder, Jody, it's amazing how much you get. I mean, it sounded expensive to start with, but when I see how much you can do with it, it's definitely not an expensive thing. All right, so here we go. Why moringa? Well, lots of anti-inflammatory stuff and good stuff in there. And also these are a mixture of, what have I put in here? I put a mixture of turmeric, cinnamon, black pepper, and ginger. Now that sounds like a horrific mixture of stuff, but you don't notice it because you're just swallowing it, and it only goes to work once it gets to your stomach. So, but they're all things to hopefully fire up my system a bit, because I need to do that. I definitely did find this week. Oh, and I haven't got my phone with me. Rats. I definitely did find this week that I put in a bit more energy. Now, is it the placebo effect or not? I don't know. I'll let you know in a little while. I've quite excited, talking one step at a time, about the fact that I definitely am nearly halfway through my craft room, which is quite exciting for me. And then the last one will be my art room. So hopefully if I keep focused and doing what I'm doing, I should be able to finish those by hopefully the next couple of weeks. Jody, any one step at a time things that you want to remind me of that you're doing? Have you done any creative stuff that you want to talk about? I wanted to give a comment here about the fact that we actually don't have any birthdays or anniversaries this week, just before I forget. And I had a couple of interesting questions for you. And one of them was, this was an interesting one. How many calories in a cup of flour? Does anybody know? Just 1 cup of flour, how many calories? Just take a bit of a guess there. And then my second question was, what about flour made from oatmeal? Okay. So Jody is saying that she hasn't been doing too much creativity. for the past few weeks, she's been doing food prep. Now, if any of you haven't heard about this, Jody and I are on, and for those of you, who's Jody? Well, she's my wonderful assistant here on the broadcast. Jody and I are busy doing food prep. One of the viewers, Beth, always talks about doing her food prep. And what we decided was that we would do the same thing. And so I have actually been quite surprised at the difference it's made to my life. Whenever I go to the fridge, there is a healthy snack already prepared. You know, if that's my favorite, my absolute favorite is the carrots and celery with the peanut butter and honey dip. I want to tell you something. That has made me eat more fruit and more vegetables this week than you can imagine. Because I think every day I have had the celery and baby carrots. And literally, I've got like a quarter of not even an eighth of a cup, I would think, of the dip. But it's just that taste is so good. And I'm going, boy, if that's healthy eating, I can do that. I did a couple of experiments. But what I found, I wanted to say this, by actually prepping meals, and I prep mine in a box and I keep it all separate. So, because I don't want it to sort of, if one is a little more liquid than another, I keep them in sort of containers or bags. And it's like, then what I do is for dinner last night, for example, I took out my box and I took out all these little bags of food and I put them on a plate, put another plate over the top of them because it was all stuff that was I had turkey dinner because I had leftover turkey. So I had leftover turkey dinner. I had an eighth of a cup of stuffing and about a quarter of a cup of mixed potatoes and yams. I found out that I've cut half my carbs by halving. Whenever I do potatoes, I do half as much, but then I top it up with yams, sweet potato. So, it's just quite amazing what a difference that makes. So that's my way of cutting down half of my potatoes. And then what I found, and this is quite interesting for those of you who live alone, I found that you can actually put frozen vegetables onto the plate, put another plate on top of it, put it into the toaster oven at about 200 and just leave it there for about an hour. And the moisture from the frozen vegetables that you just put in, don't bother to pre-cook it, because it'll actually start cooking in the toaster oven. And the moisture from the frozen vegetables will keep the rest of the food moist. And, it's amazing. It makes an instant meal very, very, very easily. I'm always looking for easy ways to do that. So, but I found that having the containers in the fridge has tidied up my fridge because I now cut up everything into portions and have it ready, pre-packed. I don't know what you do, Jody, but I do about 3 days in advance all the time. That's what I try to do, is make sure I've got 3 days worth there, just in case I feel uninspired one day. The other thing I found works really well, and I'm hoping that this will work for me as well, is I make a dessert every night of yogurt and frozen fruit. Now, what I do is I just put the frozen fruit at the bottom and then put yogurt on top of it and then put Glad wrap over the top of that and then just put it in the fridge. And as the fruit thaws, it's sitting at the bottom of the container. And then I just mix it all up when I go to eat dessert. So, yeah, 3 days I think is enough, Jody. I think that's about right. Now, I want to tell you that you remember that I told you I was making the mini omelets. I actually did a video of that, and I'm going to be editing that because, boy, did that work well. I found when I had the meal that I had, the breakfast, or I think I might have had it for lunch. For some reason, that meal went really well, and all I had in it was an apple, literally one of those mini omelets, and probably some, I'm trying to think what else I would have had with it, but some fresh fruit. Yeah, I'm going to, you saw them, but I'm going to do a video of it because they actually worked. And that to me was more important. I found I had a much better return. Okay, so you were saying about 200 calories for a cup of white flour. Now, what I found out was that a cup of oat flour is far less. Excuse me. So what I did was I found that I've started to mix the two together. In other words, make a flour that is half white and half oat, and make my weekly crepes from that. And it's worked really well. Excuse me. The other thing is that I tried to make muffins with it. Oh, you guessed. No, Jody, I think it might be even more. I think a cup of flour is more than 200, but I could be wrong. But what I found was that the muffins were really stodgy. You know what I mean? They were really heavy. So I've got to play with that a bit and see what the right proportion is. But again, what I'm looking for is using less flour or minimizing the amount of flour. And I'm going to be working with little recipes that I can do that work. The other thing I did, and I don't know if any of you do this, I tried to work out, I'm not a big eater of rice, but I know that it's not a good idea to eat a lot of rice. So I try to keep that to no more than once a week, and also to minimize the amount. What I knew as well was that brown rice is probably better for you in lots of ways. And so what I decided was I'm going to cook half white, half brown together. And, when you look at it, it really looks the same just about. So that's my new plan. I am halving the bad stuff by adding the better stuff. I wonder if that makes any sense to anybody. Now, will it work? Only time will tell. And I will let you know, of course. All right, so that's what I thought. Yes, Jody, I know you're shocked. Jody's saying 455 calories in a cup of flour. Yes. And I believe that oatmeal turned into flour actually only has about 200 and something. I think that's right. And no, even less, about 100 and just over 100. So do you understand why I'm mixing the two together now? Right? And that's what I'm trying to do, is to actually look at everything and go, how do I not make a major change, but just make a minor change towards healthier on this one? And that's what I'm doing. I am working yeah, I know, Jody, I was as well. And that's why I'm looking at changing that up again, because I realize that I use a fair amount of flour in a week. Now, I'm not going to cut it out completely. I'm going to work at reducing it. So today we are at 18 and a half minutes. No, wait a minute. No, it's not. We're at 19 minutes, Jody. If you could do a time check for me, I'd appreciate it. And we're going to be talking about growing up. And the reason that I want to talk about this is because I had to grow up this week, in the last couple of weeks. And just before I get into this subject, I just want to make sure that you all know I am not a doctor, a therapist, a counselor, whatever. I am just a human being that deals with the same stuff that you do every single day. And what I like to do is whenever I have to sort of step up and make a change in my life, that I like to discuss it, because the chances are I am probably not the only one. And that's why I like to discuss these things with you. So we're about to do a mini workshop. So if you'd like to grab a pen, for those of you who like to take notes, go right ahead and find something to write on other than the back of that envelope that you know is pretty full already. If you're anything like me. And what I wanted to do was I tried to think who or what in my life made the most sense to me about growing up. And I'd have to say it was Wayne Dyer, if any of you know Dr. Wayne Dyer. And I originally read his first book called Your Erroneous Zones. And I loved that book. But then he later went on to write another one that I absolutely made me laugh out loud. And that was called Gifts from Icus, EYKIS, Gifts from Icus. And that was all about how, most of what we fear, everything that we fear is in our heads, all right? Fear is something that goes on in our heads. So is love, if you think about it. Love is something that goes on in our heads. All right. And so to me, Wayne Dyer made a huge impact in my life. And whenever I'm struggling with growing up, hello, put your big girl pants on, Sal, and make an adult decision here. I always go back to quotes from, hi, Nada. I always go back to quotes from Wayne Dyer because he really does sort of tell it like it is. And I love the simplicity of that. Now, I found this quote, and I wondered if any of you relate to this. And he said, how people treat you is their karma. How you react is yours. How simple is that? How people treat you is their stuff, right? It's their karma. But how you react, that is yours. That's on you. Nobody forces you to behave badly. It's just an excuse that we have. So when and I don't know if you've noticed this, when we sort of go, well, I did that because they did this, this, and this, that's blame. And that's not very adult, right? That's what kids do, they blame. And so one of the things I wanted to do is let's get away from that this week. Let's work really hard at not blaming other people for our stuff, because we need to identify what's our stuff and what's their stuff. And I could do broadcasts on this every day and we still wouldn't get through it. That's my reality. And so here we go. So remember that, right? How they treat you is their stuff. Hi, Jamie. How they treat you is their stuff. How you react is 100% your stuff. Now, this quote will upset a lot of people who are into themselves. And that is, be miserable or motivate yourself. Whatever has to be done, it is always your choice. Wow. Is that putting it simply or what? You can choose to be miserable or you can choose to motivate yourself. Whatever has to be done, it is always your choice. How many of you can see the truth in that? We choose to be miserable, right? We choose to let all those negative thoughts stay in our heads because we do nothing about it, right? We dwell on it. And that's why I always say to people, don't try and think your way out of a depressive moment, do your way out of it. Because if you go and do something, it occupies your mind better than, if you sit and think about it. How many of you have ever been in that one? I have, believe you me, I spent a lot of my life in that. Yes, exactly, Jody. It's not easy, but it is a choice. All right. It's not easy to accept that because it requires that you be adult in your thinking. But whether you choose to be miserable or whether you choose to be happy is a choice. Now, 90% of the world, no, not that many. I'm pretty sure a high percentage of the world does not want to own that because that would give them too much responsibility. Hi, Sakura. But can you see that we choose to be miserable or we choose to motivate ourselves? It's not anything that anybody else does. So many people are waiting for somebody to come along and fix them. Well, hello, it is our job as adults to fix ourselves, get the help we need, but we want We want somebody else to do it, or we want to take the magic pill, that will fix it, or, whatever it is. But I think that's such a strong quote. Be miserable or motivate yourself. Whatever has to be done, it's always your choice. Yikes, that's growing up big time. All right, now how about this one? Manon, comment ça va? And Manon, thank you so much for that picture of that German Shepherd. I want to tell you, I burst out laughing. And for those of you listening to this on the replay, Manon sent me a wonderful picture of a German Shepherd. And the meme said, exercise, I thought you said extra fries. And the look on this German Shepherd's face was absolutely, priceless. Manon, I literally burst out laughing, as you probably gathered, because I sent it, I shared it with people. But it really was beautifully timed. I thank you so much. Manon, just so that we, it was absolutely for me, you're quite right. Manon, give us an update, if you will, because we don't hear from you very often. And just type me the update and I will read it out loud for people. Anyway, so in the meanwhile, Manon's doing that. And by the way, she does live in France, and that's why I spoke to her in that language. This is the next quote, which I think is awesome as well. The truth is that there is no actual stress or anxiety in the world. I'll read that again. This is from Wayne Dyer. The truth is that there is no actual stress or anxiety in the world. It's not out there. You don't catch it. You don't go and buy it, whatever. It's your thoughts that create these false beliefs. You can't package stress. You can't touch it or see it. There are only people engaged in stressful thinking. Now, is that a wake-up call? The truth is that there is no actual stress or anxiety in the world. It's your thoughts that create these false beliefs. You can't package stress, you can't touch it or see it. There are only people engaged in stressful thinking. Wow. Manon, seeing as that you're here, I was thinking while I was reading that about the incredible job you did when you were trying to get your driver's license and you were having problems with finding the right driving instructor. You could have quit and said, there's something wrong with me. I'm never going to be able to drive, and spent the rest of your life not being able to have that freedom. But I was so impressed that you kept going until you found somebody that made sense to you. And that you learned how to get that peripheral vision. And I want to tell you that I was so impressed that you went on and found the right person and learned how to drive. And I think about that a lot when I'm struggling with something new, and I think about what you did and how you did it. And I just want to tell you that is a motivating factor, and you did a great, great job, in my view. Yeah, no stress. I'm sorry. There isn't any stress. It's just stuff you make up in your mind. It is how you react to what's going on that is stress. I'm so sorry to tell you that, Manon. Does anybody else have any thought about that? Do you believe, can you see rather, that the stress that we feel is ours? It's not something that somebody else does. I am so grateful to have people in my life that I can talk to that help me just get rid of that thinking. Oh, yes, Manon is saying, but you can sometimes see the stress on somebody. Yes, what I'm saying, Manon, is that it's not that there isn't any stress. It's that it isn't a thing. You can, you don't take stress tablets, or you can't eat stress, or it's purely in here. It's what we do with what's going on around us that is stressful. All right, we do it to ourselves. And I've got a couple of examples of that coming up that I hope will make that more understandable for you. So when you realize that it's what we do to ourselves, stress we do to ourselves, and I have to remind myself, why am I giving myself this much stress? And the reason is because I'm not putting on my big girl pants and growing up and dealing with this like an adult. Now, I know some of you know some adults that don't deal with things very well, but I'm talking about a rational adult, a together adult, an adult that's in Zen, if you like, because we can't change so many things in life, but we can control, what's going on inside us if we choose to. All right, so now then, let's see what's next. Oh, that's exactly what it is. How about that? It says you cannot always control what goes on the outside, but you can always control what goes on in the inside. Now, you're probably saying, no, there's sometimes when I'm totally out of control on the inside. Well, what Wayne Dyer means is within our ability, should we choose to do so. Yes, Manon, I quite agree. Manon is talking about her driving lessons experience. And she's saying, I think it was also anger, that people were telling me I should stop. And that was not meant, and I was not meant for it. Hi, Lola, good to see you, honey. Yes, Manon, and that's exactly what I meant. People were telling you, no, you can't do this. And you hung in there and you said, yes, I can. Somewhere in your mind, you did not quit on yourself. You said, yes, I can. And that was adult thinking. And, regardless of what other people thought, what you hadn't found was the right person. And the reason I say that, Manon, was I remember once having a horse that I was trying to train in dressage. And I took that horse to the top dressage trainer in the country. And for some reason, this top dressage trainer and myself did not get on well. And he told me to take my horse and sell it for glue. Now, I don't know about you, but that was just like red rag to a bull for me. And I said to myself, I don't care what it takes, but how many of you can see this? I don't care what it takes. I'm going to prove him wrong. I'm going to prove him that that this horse is worth what I think it's worth. And so anyway, what I did was I went to the second best trainer in the country, and I said, that guy over there has just told me to sell this beautiful thoroughbred for glue because it will never make a dressage horse. And I said, I don't care how long it takes. I want to prove him wrong. And, I kept training this horse over the course of the next year. And the following year, I entered him into an event. And guess who was one of the judges of the event? Our friend. And I have to tell you, long story, but the short side of it is that we got placed. I came third with my horse that should have apparently been sold for glue. And he had to put the rosette, onto my horse's bridle. And as he put it on, I really had to laugh because my horse, called Kermit, actually put his head down like this to help him. And as my horse did that, I didn't train him to do that. The horse just did it for some reason. And it made the trainer smile. And I just said to him, as I looked at him, I said, sell him for glue, right? And he looked at me and he said, you worked hard. I said, you bet I did. And so did my horse. And he said, well, you deserve this. I said, I know we do. It was just like, but you understand what should have demotivated me. How many of you have that where, like Manon, being told she can't drive, she doesn't have the aptitude to drive, and Manon went, yes, I do. I'll prove you wrong. And she did. So yes, Manon, I totally understand that. Yes, Manon's saying like chocolate, I can control that. Yep. It's like I can control Halloween candy. The speed at which I eat it. I'm nearly finished. I've really cut down the allocation now. I'm down to a little jar, and I know that they're Yvonne's favorites, so I've got them in my house just so Yvonne can take one every time she comes up to visit me. For those of you who don't know, Yvonne is my tenant and friend. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Incorrect choices. You choose unhappiness by blaming someone or something else for your problems and circumstances. Do you agree that when we make incorrect choices, we do things like we choose to be unhappy because what we do is we're blaming other people, and that makes us unhappy because it's not a good thing to do. Or we blame something else, well, it's not my fault, the boogeyman made me do it, whatever. How many of you relate to this? When really what we're not saying is, this is my stuff and I need to deal with it like an adult. And so I want to tell you a story. I've got a viewer and a friend who I like to think of as a friend, who recently went through a very difficult time. She had built up an incredible fear about something that was happening to her. And how many of you have done that? You have something happening that's not normal, and you blow it up. This must be, and you awfulize it into something really terrible. And when I talked to her about it, I said, well, what does the doctor say? And she said, well, I haven't been. And I said, so you are literally scaring yourself stupid out of choice, right? You're not dealing with facts. You're dealing with a symptom, and you have read up everything you can about this possible symptom and taken the worst possible scenarios, and you've self-diagnosed yourself into this problem. Is that correct? I said, that doesn't sound very adult thinking to me. That sounds like a child. So get to the doctor, have them do the tests that are necessary, and find out what it is. Please, because I care about you as a human being. And the funny thing was that as soon as she did that and had the test done, her mentality changed. Because it's pretty certain that the problem is hormonal. It is not, critical. And so, but we will find out. But the main thing is, how many of you have done that to yourself, where you have literally scared yourself stupid because you're doing it all in your head? You're not dealing with facts. And I think in a way it's worse now that we have the internet, because, we have the ability of typing in all the symptoms and seeing all the terrible things we could have. Now, I want to tell you something that you will remember that over a year ago, I thought that there was some talk about the fact that I could have kidney cancer. And I really learned in that moment